Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNally Money, your home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at CleanTech Vanadium Mining Corp. There's been a lot of activity at this company, a very interesting sector, and I wanted to bring you guys up to speed. Before we get into it, take a second, smash the like button, guys. Big help to myself and the channel, specifically in getting this content to other people like you who may find value. If you're not already subscribed, McNally Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below if you've heard of CleanTech Vanadium before or you're currently holding shares. With that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be taking a look at CleanTech Vanadium Mining Corp. Before we get into it, I did want to acknowledge this video has been disseminated on behalf of CleanTech Vanadium. Now, as you can see on screen, they trade on the TSX Venture here in Canada under the ticker CTV. They also trade on the OTCQB in the United States under the ticker CTVFF. Now, I'm recording this video as of Wednesday, July 8th. You can see a great day for CleanTech Vanadium, up just north of 7.5%, or one share, currently trading hands at 14 cents Canadian. And if we zoom out to a longer duration at a 1-year interval, you can see up 300%, really reflective of the excitement around vanadium and what's known as fluorspar, as we're going to talk about in today's presentation. Now, because this is the first time covering CleanTech on the channel, I wanted to pop over to the corporate website, CleanTechCTV.com. I would encourage you to go over and take a look for yourself. Up top, you can see the two tickers we just mentioned, CTV and CTVFF on the OTC in the United States, along with the current price of vanadium sitting just north of $6. And again, I'll stress 97% acid grade fluorspar selling for nearly $500 per ton in the United States. That's up 50% since 2021, with China producing 60% of global fluorspar supply and becoming a net importer themselves in 2023, consuming around 70% of the global supply. But as you can see, CleanTech Vanadium Mining Corp is a publicly listed and independent fluorspar and vanadium mining company based in the United States since 2017. They're an active and major player in what's known as the IKFD, or Illinois Kentucky Fluorspar District, accounting for approximately 90% of historic fluorspar production in the United States.
CleanTech's fluorspar projects sits in at the heart of Illinois Kentucky Fluorspar District, accounting for 90% of historic fluorspar production. CleanTech has massive land holding of 17,750 acres, covering 745 drill holes.
Now, before we move any deeper into the presentation, I wanted to focus on what fluorspar actually is and a great little clip that can help us understand more about fluorspar.
Fluorspar, the hidden mineral powering modern industries. Fluorspar is essential in nuclear enrichment, electric vehicle and large-scale grid batteries, steel and aluminum production, and 170 other applications. Where is it produced? Major players include China, Mexico, and Mongolia, but supply is running out, and there is competitive hunt for new fluorspar supply, making it a dynamic market and opportunity for investors. With demand for clean energy and artificial intelligence and electric mobility on the rise, fluorspar is becoming a critical raw material. Limited supply, rising demand. Fluorspar prices have gone up 50% recently and creates a unique opportunity for investors.
And in terms of the actual use cases, fluorspar used in a variety of different situations, obviously refrigerant and polymer coatings, but it also plays a critical role in things like nuclear plants, specifically uranium power plants, serving as a fluxing agent in the production of uranium hexafluoride, which is a key intermediate compound in the uranium fuel cycle, and a great little clip explaining how the uranium enrichment process works.
The challenge is, how do you take naturally occurring uranium, that's 0.7% U-235, and up its concentration to those lofty numbers? That's where enrichment comes in. A couple of approaches have been used to enrich uranium. The one used by the Manhattan Project to build the first atomic weapons was gaseous diffusion. In order to separate the uranium isotopes, the first step was to turn it into a gas by adding 6 fluorine atoms. Once gaseous, the uranium hexafluoride was pushed through membranes whose holes were just big enough to let the molecules through. The lighter U-235 moves slightly more quickly through the barriers, So after several hundred membranes, the gas at the other end had the required amount of U-235. The more modern method is using centrifuges, which are cylinders that spin at very high speeds, enough to separate the lighter U-235 from U-238. The first step is the same: turn all the uranium into gaseous uranium hexafluoride. Then, like a hipster with a vinyl collection, get spinning.
So there we can see how essential fluorspar is to the uranium enrichment process, again combining 6 fluorine to 1 uranium, also known as uranium hexafluoride. Now the use cases for fluorspar don't stop there, also becoming extremely important in the production of lithium-ion batteries, as we've talked extensively about on the channel, and how they really support the growth and adoption of electric vehicles. Not to mention requiring actually 5 to 10 times more fluorspar than lithium for the creation of these batteries. And once again, you'll see in the next clip, fluorine a key component of this battery or electrification process.
What does it take to make electrification possible? When we talk about electrification, we often think of batteries. But behind every battery, there is chemistry. Precise, controlled, essential. Today, NextChem takes a leap into fluorine chemistry. But why? Among the many elements that make up a battery, fluorine compounds play a key role in enabling efficient and reliable energy storage.
So now that we have a general understanding of what CleanTech Vanadium is all about and the importance of not only vanadium but fluorspar, I wanted to jump into the corporate presentation and give you guys a little bit of an under the hood look in terms of what CleanTech Vanadium is all about. Now we just talked about some of the use cases for fluorspar, with over 50% of production used to produce hydrofluoric acid, but also citing the importance for things like uranium enrichment and lithium-ion batteries, which we just talked about. Also high voltage insulation, semiconductor, and lithography, which are all key trends we expect to grow over the next few decades, and a nice breakdown of global demand on the right. Now, as you would imagine, if anything's in demand, the price tends to follow. We can see on the left here, the US acid grade fluorspar price in 2026 reaching highs of $518. Again, keep in mind on the homepage, today trading in the 477 range. And the second graph here shows production by country, with China by far surpassing any other nation, again with a focus on US domestic supply chain resilience and supply, further positioning companies like CleanTech Vanadium. Now earlier in the presentation, I talked about this key Illinois Kentucky district. CleanTech's fluorspar projects consist of over a dozen distinct fluorspar deposits with over 745 historic drill holes spanning 17,550 acres. You can see located on the map very close to the intersection of Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky, with the district itself being highly strategic, composed of a unique geological setting, established transportation infrastructure, and proximity to major industrial consumers. And here you can see they make reference to 100% of fluorspar demand currently being filled with foreign imports in the United States, and again that push to onshore or find domestic supply chains. Now we're going to move on to some of the more recent developments or press releases in a second, but I wanted to bring up a few of the peers in this space, specifically TVAN or TVN, based in Australia, currently trading with a 725 million Australian dollar market cap. They also have peers in the United States as well, with ARS and Phenom Resources holding either fluorspar exposure in the case of Utah or vanadium exposure in the case of Nevada, trading at 108 and 43 million dollar Canadian market caps respectively. So as we move through these press releases, keep some of these figures in mind in terms of some of the expansion potential or total addressable market for CleanTech Vanadium. Now speaking of press releases, we're going to talk about some recent developments in relation to this Illinois Kentucky Fluorspar District, but worth noting that US mining operations have already extracted 30 million tons of raw fluorspar in this region since the 1800s. Again, with CleanTech having outlined significant mineral resource representing over 17,550 acres within this district. And here you can see some of the various different projects along with their associated size, historic resource estimate in tons, percentage of calcium fluoride, with the highest being 58% at the Eagle Watson project, and in some cases zinc. Now here's some photos from the recent Kentucky site visit back in March, just to give you guys a frame of reference, along with the access to the Ohio River for shipping concentrate. And that's where I really wanted to get into this flagship Campbell-Kreutzer fluorspar project and the associated plans and recent developments. Now, if we pop back to the corporate website, under recent press releases, you can see a flurry of activity just in the month of June leading into July. And I wanted to pick up on the initial June 12th release here, talking about CleanTech to commence their diamond drilling at Campbell-Kreutzer fluorspar project. So this is really an extension of that plan or slide we just looked at in the presentation, with CleanTech Vanadium Mining announcing the start of a diamond core drilling program at that Campbell-Kreutzer fluorspar project in the IKFD. The initial program comprises of 8 diamond core drill holes totaling approximately 9,000 feet, with the potential to expand to a further 8 holes, or approximately 18,000 feet, or 16 total holes. The program is designed to delineate sufficient mineralized material to define an initial underground mine plan and to establish the first year of raw fluorspar feed to a planned 500 ton per day or TPD flotation processing plant to produce 97% acid grade fluorspar commercial product. So this announcement really ties together many of the key points we've talked about. This is focused on acid grade fluorspar 97% with 200-foot space drilling planned over a previously drilled vein system, and a scheduled start date of August 1st, 2026 and a completion by the end of January 2027. So a near-term catalyst as this program really starts to take hold and kick off. And as we just learned in the investor presentation, this project specifically covers around 275 acres in what's known as Livingston County, Kentucky. Now from there, CleanTech then came out with another update on the 16th of June, talking about commencing this Campbell-Kreutzer fluorspar mine permitting at prominent Kentucky Fluorspar District, stating that they've now retained a full-time permitting specialist, Michael Heem of Lexington, Kentucky, to initiate and manage the permitting process for the company's proposed Campbell-Kreutzer fluorspar mining operation in the IKFD. So again, another step in the right direction and a step closer to that initial extraction rate of 500 tons per day. Now from there, we then get into some financing news. This was updated or amended on the 6th of July in relation to their non-brokered private placement. And if we pop into this press release, you can see the company has now announced that it has amended the terms of its previously announced non-brokered private placement to raise gross proceeds of up to $1.32 million with the sale of 12 million units at a share price of 11 cents per unit, with each individual common share coming along with a 15-cent warrant as well. Going on to state, CleanTech Vanadium intends to use the net proceeds of the offering for general corporate purposes and will not use the proceeds of the offering to fund any transaction requiring the approval of the TSX Venture Exchange. And worth noting, insiders of the company actually subscribed for 3 million units or $330,000, which was the maximum allowed under the program. Now, the final press release and most recent that I wanted to leave you with just came out on the 7th of July, entitled CleanTech to submit fluorspar mine permit by year end with state approval decision in 2027 at the Kentucky Fluorspar District. So again, moving from concept into execution here. They've assembled this land package. They've put together this plan, the drill program. They now have the financing and now focused on the permitting. So as you can see here, again, in relation to the Campbell-Kreutzer location, outlining the regulatory roadmap towards the development of Campbell-Kreutzer and the associated central flotation processing and tailings facility, again to produce 97% acid-grade fluorspar on site. Now, the plan is laid out in multiple phases. Phase 1 is focused on property control and project initiation, confirm mineral and surface title and rights of entry, the completion of site reconnaissance, and preparing preliminary operations mapping. Phase 2 is really focused on permitting, engineering, and regulatory review, completing things like the environmental field investigations and preparing the Kentucky Division of Mine Reclamation and Enforcement non-coal permit application package. Phase 3 will then focus on federal mine safety compliance and operational readiness. Now, the company is targeting the submission of the principal mine and processing plant permit applications by the end of November this year, so another catalyst to put on your calendar, and are expecting the subject of completion of baseline field studies and the issuance of these permits in the first half of 2027. Now, you can see some great context in this press release in terms of the strategic rationale for fluorspar, identified as a critical mineral and a key input not only in nuclear and EVs, but also the semiconductor supply chain, with the U.S. Defense Logistics Agency, known as the DLA, in late 2025, issuing an indefinite delivery and indefinite quantity contract to secure acid-grade fluorspar for the National Defense Stockpile for up to $250 million to reduce that import reliance on China, also stating calcium fluoride, or fluorspar, is included on the U.S. Geological Survey's list of critical minerals, as we looked at, with the U.S. reporting no significant domestic fluorspar mine production since 1995, and now 100% reliant on net imports of fluorspar from countries like China. So you can see, not only are we talking about the semiconductor and memory manufacturing industries, which are absolutely exploding right now with the adoption of AI and high performance compute, we talked about energy storage and those lithium ion batteries, or the EV angle, and of course nuclear fuel and energy security, another key topic we discuss on the channel. Really, with the Campbell-Kreutzer project being a solution located in the United States, and once again in that prized Illinois Kentucky Fluorspar District. Now, here you can see some of the various different results based on this historic mineral resource estimate that was performed back in 1974. This was a 66-hole drill program with a total indicated and inferred resource of around 806,000 tons at a 37.1% calcium fluoride grade. Now, obviously, these are historical estimates prepared by Boyce Moody back in 1974, but very encouraging, with the company considering the historical estimate to be relevant as an indication of the historical exploration results on the property and a great guide for designing current and future exploration programs. So you can see, with deposits of this nature in excess of 30% calcium fluoride, this is exceptionally high, with global peers running in the range of 4 to 6.6% calcium fluoride and a 30% plus in-ground resource, meaning the project requiring much less processing or OPEX when you start to think about things like moving, crushing, and processing the actual waste rock. So as you extrapolate that out into margins, you can see a premier margin profile. So for those reasons, you guys, I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts on CleanTech Vanadium Mining. Specifically, if you've heard of this company before, are invested in any of their peers, or hold shares yourself. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, McNally Money, feel free to join. And if you're still watching the video at this point, hopefully you found some value. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.